Hi, my name's Troy, and I'm here today with Catherine, the founder and owner of Spirit Quest in Sedona, Arizona. And today I wanted to visit with Catherine about addiction and what it's like for parents who are currently living with a child or who have a child that is addicted. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
So, one of the questions I have for parents is it's such a difficult thing to experience is what would you say in terms of your perspective around parenting a child with an addiction? How would you help them to be able to cope with that child? What is your perspective?
Well, there's a lot of self-help groups. There's, AA. There's um, different ways to reach out and get some good pointers and so forth. But the bottom line is that, when we're talking about what someone in your family or your close ring of circle, when they're experiencing something like that, um, because you love this person, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You've got these deep feelings of love. So what tends to happen is we tend to want to rescue this person from themselves, and sometimes it's motivated by what we think, the shoulds and shouldn'ts, what we
Mm.
think of them or how they should live their life. But a lot of times it's just really a process that's going on within us, of just, it can be very altruistic and very beautiful. I just love this person and I just want to help them. But when we're helping our children or those family members close to us when they're young, that's one thing. We're caring for them, or helping them learn valuable lessons. But the dynamic changes when these individuals in our families become adults. When they become adults, the whole thing's got to shift. It's got to change to something that's really a, it's defining that relationship and going deeper into what does it mean to relate to another, even to my own child. So the way I've related to my child in the past, once they have an addiction and they're in that adult stage, it completely changes. Everything changes.
Mm-hmm. And is there a certain age at which, or is it more of a subjective or relative?
I don't, yeah, it really is not a hard and fast rule anywhere, but when a child starts embarking on their own lives, they move out, they start, you know, and typically when we graduate from high school, we turn 18, most kids are ready to become young adults and to venture out and become adults and take hold of their own lives. So there's that age-old thing of enabling, and that's what always comes up at these meetings. It's like, what does it mean to enable somebody?
There are so many parents going through challenges right now with their children and who are addicts, young and old. What's the best advice that you could give them to help with their own sanity, with their own self-care? Can you give me a few things that really would help them?
Absolutely. I would say the number one advice is lovingly detach.
Mm,
Not,
mm,
not in an egoic way, not in a frustrated way of, I don't get out of my life. I don't ever want to talk to you again, or don't call me. Although there may become points where it's so toxic that you may have to do super hard love, but I think for the most part we can lovingly detach. We can detach and still have a very soulful and beautiful, supportive relationship with those around us who may be going through some kind of addictive process of overcoming a substance or something. But so lovingly detaching and really paying up the self-care for yourself
Mm.
and stop giving constant advice for the other. Because when we give advice for the other, that's why in AA they won't tell you what enabling is, because enabling is really so unique to the individual. So it's better with a series of questions of, when I do this, does it help the other person? Asking yourself, because if you monetarily step in and pay for their car payment or pay for rent one time, two times, getting them on their feet, helping them, that's one thing. But constantly, rescuing,
Mm.
when it comes a point of another rescue and another rescue, when you get to that rescue point, it's really disservice. It's sending the message to your child that I have to rescue you because you can't rescue yourself. And you might say, well, if I don't rescue, they might have terrible consequences. They might lose their car, they might lose their house, they might whatever, overdose. I mean, they might drive drunk, yeah, they might. And you know what? If you keep trying to control and keep trying to fix and keep trying to get in their business, they're still gonna, it's not gonna change anything. It's not gonna,
Mm.
it won't change the situation. In fact, it can even make it worse by sending the message to them that, I don't believe in you enough that you can do this, so I'm going to go do it for you, rather than saying, I'm stepping back, I'm going to the spa, I'm going to do some meditation, some yoga, and then the child's like, or the person's like, wow, they have their lives together, they're going to enjoy something really peaceful and wonderful. Maybe that's what I should be doing instead of starting all these fires and going down this road of total destruction.
Yeah. So when you talk about loving detachment, that's easier said than done sometimes, I think. And parents obviously love their children and want the best for their children, and they worry. And they worry about their child. How do we get away from worrying? What is worry?
Yeah. I think the message we need to send, instead of I'm worried about you, and is I believe in you.
Mm.
I believe in you. I trust you're going to make the right decisions. I see your potential. I believe in your potential. Instead of I see your dysfunction, the constant message of I see your dysfunction, that just escalates and becomes a louder and louder message, and it will cause the other person to back up. They'll either go further into disappearing and numbing in the drug scene, or they'll just back up from you. But that message of I believe in you, I love you, I'm here for you, a loving detachment. I'm not trying to control you. I'm not trying to mold you. I'm not trying to judge you. I just love you. And if you ask for my advice, I'm here for you. If you want to talk about it, if you would like my input, it's really treating them as an adult and letting them know you're there for them, but not in a monetary way. You're not going to keep rescuing them, and not even in a controlling, judging way that sends that other negative message to them.
One of the things that we were talking about earlier was another thing that you had mentioned as far as helping out the relationship, because you're in relation. You talked about modeling. You want to talk a little bit about your perspective on, as a parent, what that looks like, modeling that behavior for your child?
Yeah, because the healthiest thing you can do is, you want to get over out of your heads in the top of the sun is like moving as we're talking. Okay, so he's already got a sunburn from riding 20 miles yesterday without his shirt on, so got some sunburn out here in the desert. Where are we, sweetie? We're at McDowell Mountain Park.
Been doing some mountain biking
near Fountain Hills, and did 20 miles yesterday. Anyway, so what he was saying was, he brought up the topic of
modeling.
So, what that's about is really, living. It's what you do. It's not so much what you say that's going to change the situation. Believe it or not, we think saying it is, I got to say it. I got to share how I feel. I got to voice my opinion. They need to hear this. Really, what's more powerful, way more powerful than that, is just modeling a good lifestyle, modeling self-care, living your life in such a way. That is really the most powerful thing, where the kid or the person who in the family, or in the friends, whatever, in you're interacting with, where they get to see what a healthy lifestyle is. And I'm in this mess and this fire and this dysfunction, and they're over there in this peace and calm and serenity, and they're going to different spiritual retreats, and they're going to reading self-help books, and they're doing yoga, and they're doing meditation, and they've got all these wonderful tools where they're not overreacting. They're not back to that worry. Worry is all about what could happen, what might happen, the anxiety over, instead of just being in the being right here, right now, in the peace and loving it. And when you move, it's like a storm that's raging, and you find yourself all of a sudden in the storm, swirling around. There's things hitting you, and danger too. And you say, you know what, I'm going to go to the eye of the storm. I'm going to go to the center of myself. I'm going to go to the peace. And I'm getting out of either your storm or my storm, and I'm getting into the center. And that's a choice. And that if you model that, that is the greatest thing you can do to help this family member come back. Because we were talking about empowerment of the soul versus total disempowerment. And total disempowerment is when we don't want to face our feelings, so we numb them, we hide from them, we push them down, we take drugs, we do things so we don't have to face the music, we don't have to face the reality of our own emotions, and or the possible disappointment of somebody or ourselves. So we just numb. And instead, if we just called up that anger and we faced our own emotions, say it's anger, we say, anger, let's have a conversation. Why are you here? What's the problem? What do you need? What's going on? We get really clear why we are feeling angry, why anger is living within us. And once we have that conversation and we get clear why we're angry, or why we're sad, or why we're disconnected, or why we're lonely, then we can move, instead of numbing and disappearing, we can move into right action. We can move into action of the soul to get what the soul needs to release the anger, to release the fear, to release the hurt, to release the pain. And then we can rebuild relationships, because as long as we numb and we hide and we don't face our feelings, then there will be dysfunction in all our relationships.
So, as a parent, when we're working on our child, working to fix them, working to heal them, working to rescue them, working to save them, as much as our intent is positive and we love them, we're damaging them because we're disempowering them.
You were talking about who said your child
Khalil
comes
Gibran.
Through you?
Yeah, the child coming through you.
Tell them a little bit about that.
It's a perspective. It's a perspective about our nature here on earth. And as a parent, a lot of times many parents think about ownership of their child, and they wrap up their value and their worth in how well their child does, or how their child maybe is an addict. And we put our own meaning into their lives, as if, their failures are also our failures, and we can become, blaming of ourselves, which really trap us in that process and in that relationship with that child. Our story is tied to that child. So when that child falls, we make a meaning about ourselves that we're not good parents, when in reality, failing and falling is a part of our life. And it's really how we develop a stronger sense of self is through experiencing um, challenges in our life, adversaries in our life, and how we move past that.
And let's not forget that our child or our, person in our family or our friend or our ring, they need that too. They have their karma, they have their path. They need to fall down and learn lessons. And when you keep rescuing and running in and fixing it, again, you're not allowing them to live their own karma and learn their own lessons. It's really, as much as it might be a beautiful thing you're trying to do, and it's solely motivated from your heart, not maybe trying to control, but just really loving this person and wanting it the most for them and the best for them. It's a beautiful thing. But again, if there is some major dysfunction such as drug abuse, where they're caught in a negative, horrific cycle, you have to redefine that relationship and redefine that need to help, even if it's lovingly help. And at that point, I would say loving detachment, stepping back, send that message. I believe in you. I believe you. It's in you to overcome this. It's in you. I believe in your potential. I see your potential, and I'm going to hold on to the potentiality, moving it into the actuality rather than focusing on you fell down there, you screwed it up there, and you need a little help there. That constant message of negativity just sends them spiraling deeper down into the hole.
From my perspective, this is a healer. The healer is the one that sees the other as whole and that has the potential to come up with the solutions to their own problems, which is empowering, which comes back to you modeling that being that is capable of self-love, that is capable of self-care. And when we're doing that for ourselves, we empower the other to do that for themselves also, rather than sending that message.
Yeah, and one of the things, I mean, you can be pushed so far down this rabbit hole with addiction. I know, it's like where it's like, but they might die. That's what I won't allow that. I can let them lose their apartment. I can let them lose their car. I will not allow them to die. Well, I get it. It is, your heart is just so, but we have to stop controlling, and we have to just allow whatever's gonna occur to, we hope and pray that nothing like that ever occurs. But to again focus, instead of focusing on that, focusing more, I believe in you, and I will allow, these people can be our greatest teachers on letting go, on the topic of allow for ourselves, teaching us to allow and to let go and to stop controlling and stop trying to fix things, stop trying to make them be like us, or stop blaming ourselves so much and that's why we got to go in and fix things, and instead just go more into the forgiveness, the allowing, the flow, and the surrender. And even surrendering to whatever is gonna happen, even the darkest things. And I don't say that lightly. I say that with an acknowledgement of the extreme pain of truly doing that, what that means as surrender. I allow you to even die if that's what this, because the codependency, when you've got, say, a mate who's spinning out of control, that codependency of I gotta fix you, and I keep trying and trying, it just makes the problem worse.
Yeah, it does. You talk about the surrender. Well, what comes to mind is trusting that there's a divine plan, and that with free will we have the ability to heal ourselves. We have the ability to all of a sudden wake up and decide one day, I'm watching Mom do what she's doing in her life. I'm seeing how she's really taking over control of her life and living her life to the fullest, and she's not feeding into my my addiction, and where is that coming from? And certainly not everybody is going to make it through to the other side where they can heal. But it is a trust in the divine plan in allowing that soul to heal, if that's what's called in that soul's life.
Yeah, and they have to, of course, they have to be the ones to say, hey, I want to change my life. Once there's a willingness to change or to get better, then we can have these heartfelt conversations of maybe there was a little period that the parent didn't give enough attention or wasn't available, whatever. Like, we own it and we have these conversations and we heal these relationships where we apologize and we express what happened, but then we move on and we let it go. And we're looking more toward moving forward rather than rehashing the past and returning again to the dysfunction over and over again. Ironically, when we numb ourselves and we're moving backwards instead of forwards, we're numbing ourselves, but that emotion is still there. And that anger, those feelings are still there. They're just being suppressed. So they'll continue to try to surface. They'll continue to try to surface. They're going to surface until you actually face it, until you actually have a conversation with it. That's when you're going to actually begin to move in a positive direction and heal relationship, not only with yourself, but with other people around you, and have these heartfelt conversations, and then changing the behavior so we're not in the bonfire, we're not creating fires everywhere. We're actually moving into positivity and actuality of creating beautiful things, and being the best we could be. We want to move everybody in that direction.
Mm-hmm. So when we step in, we're interrupting that process.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
When we're stepping in and healing and saving and rescuing.
Ironically, because we think we're helping.
We think we're helping. So it's not always what we want, but it's what we need to do.
Yeah.
In order to allow that child to heal.
Yeah, I would say don't stop at offering the advice unless they ask.
Mm-hmm.
Let the message be a continual positive message of, I believe in you. I know things are gonna get better for you, instead of the constant message of, you're such a wreck, and this negative message. And
Yeah.
it's so hard when there is destructive behavior going on. But that's showing that you're recognizing it and you're stepping back from it, and you're just working on yourself instead of working on them. And you can help them if it's just love they need, if it's just support they need, a conversation, someone to believe in them. Yeah, help them that way. But when it's running in monetarily, trying to fix things with money, or fix things even with words and situations where
or a place to live,
or
paying their car, or paying their rent, or paying for their food,
talking to the judge for them, or talking to the other person, like getting so involved in their junk, in their lives. No, step out and just be responsible for your own life, and making sure, in AA they call it cleaning up your side of the street, making sure that's all you're responsible for is your side of the street. And I just know it's so hard when it's children or your own kids. You want to run over there and clean up their side of the street. I'm noticing your side of the street is really getting messy. And it's so hard not to do that, to run over there and clean it up real fast. Because sometimes we think we know so much more, and we could clean it up really fast, and we could maybe, but it's a disservice to the human being, to the other person.
Catherine, it was really wonderful speaking with you today about this. Really
Love
appreciate
you.
you and your wisdom.
Love you.
From someone who has been through fires, who's been through it, your perspectives are enlightening, and they're empowering, and that's really what we want.
Awesome.
So, thank
See
you.
you guys next time.